All right, welcome to another video. This is where the last video ended off, which was working on building an envelope, then breaking down the objects within the envelope down into their own envelopes, and then starting to break down a little bit into detail where needed. I definitely spent quite a bit more time on this than is necessary when starting a drawing. I did keep what the extra work that I put in light enough that when I do start knocking in my values to start building the form, those lines should not be a problem. So if you do spend more time constructing your underdrawing, the beginning part of your drawing, your blueprint framework before you start knocking in your value, great, whatever you need to do. Just make sure you keep it light. But just like I showed you with the bottle demo, you can keep it more simplified, because in the end we really are, like I've said before, and I'll just keep saying it to make sure that you guys are fully getting it, is that you're going to be putting a lot of marks into this. So to spend too much time on detailing in the beginning is not worth your time. I just wanted to show you, spent more time showing you the basic thought process of what I'm checking and how I'm checking it when I'm doing the beginning drawing, to make sure that my measurements and proportions and whatnot are accurate at the start. But in the future videos that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be spending less time on them. So I'll be demoing a more simplified envelope start next, and I probably will not be talking quite as much, but just know that what I'm doing when I'm not talking is all of the stuff that I was doing when I really talked step by step about what I was looking at, how I was measuring it, and what I was checking against. I'm doing all that same stuff even when I'm doing something more simplified. I'm just keeping the goal in mind of getting some basic things down before moving forward. And then after that, I'll have another demo, and I'm going to try to keep them to about 20 minutes, so I'll be setting a timer. So I'm not taking them super far, but I'll be doing a 20-minute of subtractive start, just to kind of show you what that looks like. And then if time permits, I'll be doing a 20-minute on the same video, a 20-minute kind of how I like to start my drawings, which is more loose and expressive, and then I always have the option at any point to kind of refine and take it tighter using this charcoal method, or allow it to be more loose and free. So I just wanted to show you that, just so you can kind of see the freedom that's involved in this process if you keep practicing it and moving forward with it. And then if for some reason I start running out of time, I have another video that I unintentionally recorded of me just doing a warm-up, working in that more free style that I like to do. And if I have time for both, I will include both. So that's what you're going to be seeing. I will not be on the more subtractive and also the more loose start. I will not be talking during those. I'll probably mute them or have music or something. But just know that even with those subtractive and the looser starts, after I kind of get something down within that first 20 minutes, then I can pick my truth and then do some measuring, really solid measuring along the way too afterwards. So all of this, like I said in the last video, it's all just a big bag of tricks, of approaches, things that you can mix together. The gestural, the contouring, the subtractive aspects, the planing, the more straight-lined envelope approach, all of it's interchangeable. So play with them. It might be even worth, if you have the time, of course, to just practice a few 20-minute starts different ways, just to kind of free yourself up and see what you like and what works best for you. So real quick, I'm gonna go ahead and pop this off, and I'm just gonna just do a more simplified envelope start, just to show you. And again, I'm probably going to just draw so that I can pay attention and execute it. Again, if you have questions, the Monday feedback session is always great. And I'm going to set my timer here. So this would be a more simplified version of what I did last time, and there's still stuff I'm gonna need to sort out, but that's to be expected. But after this step here, I'd spend some time, maybe this would be my truth, or again, that could be my truth, and I could check it, or I could check the whole length of this against the whole width of the overall still life. You can do some different approaches. Just depends on whatever still life you're going with to check. I'm still not 100% certain. I think that frosting still can get a little bit bigger, but that can be sorted out when you start adding value. So what I would like to emphasize is, linearly it is helpful, to draw quickly linearly, but you can really get a better handle on proportions and things too, and basic shapes are easier to see when you start knocking in your value. So once you get this and you've checked some measurements, then you can go ahead and start knocking in your value. So if I were to move forward, so once you have a pretty good idea of where things are, no matter what approach you choose to do, the next step is adding that value. And so just like you did with the bottle and with the sphere, you're going to start looking for your big shadow shapes and thinking about the qualities that they have. So soft form shadow, harder cast shadow edges, doing your hierarchy of focal points, keeping that in mind as you knock in your shadow shapes. And so what's your darkest dark, your lightest light, what you need to emphasize, pushing your terminator so that your form can start popping up. And just as I'm doing this, I'm seeing, that fold that's right here is up higher, which means that maybe this whole area could come up a little higher on the boot, which would make that a little wider. So I would continue checking my measurements and observing things as I even start to do this layer or section for it. And it's going to be fairly rough in the beginning, so you want to work your way towards your detail. So looking at general to specific in your approach, and looking at the local value. So in general, all my lights need to be pushed back, especially on this boot, and not being afraid to merge the background and your objects so that you can start having them feel like they're in the shared space. So no matter what approach you do after you get kind of a good start going, you're going to do the exact same thing and work your way towards that detail. And I will be doing a video on, taking it a step further past the beginning where we got to with the vase or with the bottle and the sphere, so that you can see how to take it further and what you need to be thinking about when you do take it further. But this would be the next step, is to just start knocking it in. Another thing that's super helpful is getting that background to the right value. So if you have a dark background or work from one of my references with a dark background, killing that background value is going to be super helpful. Pushing all that white back and out of the way so you can start seeing these values as they move along further, getting closer to detail. You need to have this organized and knocked in dark so you can start seeing, your eye can start evaluating the relationships between these values. And your background value is most likely, whether you have a light cloth or a dark cloth or whatever background you're using, that background is the one thing that connects with all of them. All of it touches all of the objects for the most part. So that's a helpful tool for you to do the close comparison, right? So if I look here and this, say I have this the right value in the background for the most part, then I can squint and look and see like, okay, what's the value difference between here and here? And then once I establish that relationship, then I can use this relationship to then check this shadow value relativity. How does this compare to this? And then how does this compare to the same black for the most part that's here? And then from there, I can use both of these to then check the value of this down here. And in general, This is a really darker, quite a bit darker of a value. If I look past all of the little reflective light glaze stuff, that's going to get quite a bit darker down here. And so the background can be really helpful. Looking for what's called any lost edges. So when you squint, do you have an edge that almost disappears relative to the values that are around it? That's a great tool for figuring out what a value needs to be in an area. So that's going to be what your approach is moving forward. And when you have something like this with a lot of detail, worry about building the form first and then put the detail on top of the form that you've built, which I'll show you, but just in case some of you get there before the video comes out, build the form, then apply the detail. That'll help you make the detail wrap around the form instead of getting too lost in the form or in the detail right off the bat. So, so that is just a looser start. And now I'm going to go ahead and jump in and do this, do the subtractive. So hope you're all doing well. Hopefully that was helpful, and we'll talk to you soon.